What's going on, everybody? Monday Night Raw has passed. A lot of things happen. So you know what? Let's talk about it. Show opens up with John Cena. Cena came out, kind of doing the thing that he usually does, telling us how much we're terrible people, and that obviously, the dates are counting down. Time's almost up. We are halfway through the retirement tour, and that he is absolutely done with letting other people walk all over him, done with everybody, taking the spotlight from him, that this is about him. He is the one that he was angry at the fans for the fact that we were using our voices to cheer on and bring back our truth when we should be cheering and appreciating him. And that we only have half the time now. I think he said 19 dates are left. It was definitely fun. It's Cena being Cena. I personally have been enjoying the heel Cena run. I like it. But he was interrupted by none other than CM Punk. CM Punk came out, let him know how he felt about Cena turning into this, as he likes to put it, a monster. Telling him that the belt has corrupted him, that it corrupts everybody that eventually gets it. He became one himself not too long ago when he was the champion, and now he will become a monster to take down a monster, in a sense, which I love the promo. The promo was probably one of my favorite CM Punk promos this year, and I guess I can't really say much because I am a big CM Punk fan. Obviously, you can see his autograph above me. But Cena looks like he was ready to accept the challenge, but not tonight. It will be that he has to follow him to Saudi Arabia and face him at the King and Queen pay-per-view, PLE, for that belt. So, and it's going to be interesting because a lot of people have been chattering about online about CM Punk going to Saudi Arabia to be featured in a match after he's clearly let his public opinion of the event itself kind of be known, especially when he said a certain line to The Miz a couple years ago. I'm not going to repeat it here. I don't want my video to get demonetized. So if you want to find out what it was, go look it up. But right before the segment ended, we saw Mr. Money in the Bank letting everybody know, I'm still here. And it's interesting because it leads me to believe, what belt will he go after? Obviously, he's talked about going after the World Heavyweight Championship. But what if he might actually be paying attention to this match, too? What if Rollins is the one to take the belt off of Cena in the end? Because of a cash-in. We don't know. But, moments are there. We'll see what happens. Not to spend too much time on it, we'll skip over and go into the next segment. So the next one here was AJ Styles versus Chad Gable. The match itself was really good. Obviously both these guys are phenomenal superstars. Gable coming out very, very taped up, very, very banged up. I wonder where most of those injuries came from. Looks like he did a lot more than just compete at the Worlds Collide event. Notice a little bit of a big scratch on his shoulder blade. Kind of interesting. There was another superstar that got a interesting little scratch in that area on Saturday in a certain ladder match. But, speculation. But the match itself was pretty good. Creed Brothers obviously tried to get involved to help Gable get the win. And if anything, it actually made things worse. And we saw AJ come out on top with a victory. And it was interesting because it's kind of showing that Gable just can't get over on his own. Gable seems to be struggling. His buddy El Grande Americano, on the other hand, he's been getting some dubs. We'll see what happens. Right after that, let's move on to the next segment, which was the first round of the Queen of the Ring tournament. So we saw Roxanne Perez take on Liv Morgan, take on Monday Night Mommy Rhea Ripley, take on Kairi Sane. Now, what's interesting was right before the match started, we saw Liv and Roxanne actually standing backstage and exchanging some words. Roxanne clearly trying to, schmooze her way into Liv's good graces, trying to say, hey, let's look out for each other. Let's bring it doesn't matter who wins, as long as we bring the crown back to the Judgment Day, right? That's all that matters. Liv was having none of that. Not at all. She was very much letting her know, you get in my way, I'm taking you out. She was just in it for herself. Right after that, we just go out. Entrances happen. Match starts. it's a pretty good match. Honestly, all 4 women are very, very good. We saw some spots with everybody. Rhea clearly was the dominant force in the match, being the big, strong one. But we saw a lot of the technical wrestling between like Kyrie. We saw a lot of back and forth with her and Rhea for a while. Liv and Roxanne, trying their hardest to kind of like make sure neither one of them also got pinned. It was kind of like indirectly they were working together without realizing it. And at one point, obviously, Raquel Rodriguez comes out. Raquel tries to get involved to help Liv out. Kind of backfires on her as well. At one point, they were able to take Rhea out. Kyrie starts actually working on Liv, and she actually knocks Liv out. And right before she could pin Liv and take the victory, Roxanne sneaks in, rolls her up. Roxanne gets the win. Now, it's very interesting that she got the win because obviously, with Raquel being out there, Liv almost had like a higher chance. But, it's going to be crazy to see how this unfolds. I mean, to me, I think Roxanne deserves it, obviously. But it's going to be really interesting to see how this unfolds backstage, which we do see a little bit of a fallout afterwards. I'll get into that in just a second. Next segment we had was obviously Becky coming out. And Becky letting everybody know that she is the best of all time, that she, it was interesting. She opened it literally with, I don't get the you deserve a chance. I don't get that. Well, I deserve it anyway. And I love it. And then she starts trash talking Lyra about how the way she held her arm up, that she was like, no, the way she did it was wrong. She hurt me. It didn't real well. So she's got to come back and do it right. So she starts calling Lyra out. She gets her wish because Lyra comes out. Lyra comes out and she looks like she was ready for war, but we had a surprise return with Bayley jumping on top of Becky and just knocking her senseless. I'm talking, what? Now remember, Bayley was taken out back at WrestleMania and it was revealed by Becky that she was the one who did it. So I love it. I think it's going to be cool now that Bayley's back in the picture for this title. But now we're going to have obviously this interesting friction that I'm pretty sure it's going to happen between Bayley and Lyra, because obviously Lyra wants her title back. Bayley wants revenge, and she also wants that title. So we're going to see probably them compete in some type of triple threat situation. But, we'll wait and see. Following up that moment, though, we had another moment where a hooded figure comes out from the crowd and then climbs on top of the announce desk, again revealing to be R-Truth. This was a really good promo. And I'm going to say, you know what? It wasn't really a promo. It was him speaking from his heart. He was letting everybody know how thankful he was that the We Want Truth chants, the We Want Truth tweets, that we were the reason that he came back. He was thanking the fans, and, obviously we thank you as well, R-Truth. I'm sorry, Ron Killings, because he's no longer going by R-Truth. He told us how he felt different, he felt alive, and he's ready to, show them, what he's here to do, and to kind of show like an act of like, I'm here for this change. He pulled out a pair of scissors and proceeded to cut off his dreads. And we say it, and we see now that R-Truth is now Ron Killings. And to end that promo, he let us hear him say, "Put some respect on my name." I loved it. I loved the passion. I loved it. It was such a good segment, and I can't wait to see what he does. Following up right after that, we obviously saw that little bit of the fallout I was discussing earlier with Roxanne and Liv backstage. Roxanne came back to the clubhouse, and the members of the Judgment Day were congratulating her. And right after that congratulations got from Dom, Liv pops up, and she is not happy. She's furious. She's angry. Roxanne's like, "Oh, I was saving you from taking the pin." And obviously Liv is not having it. Liv ends up walking out, and she's about to crash out. The crash out is coming. I'll tell you about it in a sec. Following up right after that, we had the men's King of the Ring tournament first round, which featured Sami Zayn, Braun Breaker, Penta, and Dominic Mysterio. All 4 men really laid it out there. And I love the fact that we're getting such good matches right now. Like, these matches were really good. Honestly, I couldn't tell you who was going to win. Honestly, I couldn't. I mean, personally, I kind of thought maybe Dom would take it, but in a surprise twist during the match, LA Knight gets involved because at one point it looks like Breaker's kind of taking the head of the pack here. He's kind of leading it. He's kind of looking like he might end up being the one to take it. But out of the crowd comes LA Knight. Hits him with the BFT. Lets him know that he's not happy about him being involved in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And we're going to probably see that kind of fall out from that as well with him. But yeah, he ends up taking Breaker out, which allows Sammy to hit a haluva kick, get a pin in, and Sammy is the one moving on. Now, this really, really surprised me, and I'm not saying this in any disrespectful way to Sammy, but only because I was not thinking Sammy was going to be the one moving on right away. I thought maybe, per storyline, obviously he's got this thing going on with Cross, that maybe Cross would kind of confront him and tell him, look, this is why you took the loss, because you're being too Mr. Nice Guy, you got to be a bad guy, but honestly, we still saw that actually happen after Sammy took this win. I hated the fact that this was also during a commercial break. Like, these segments with Cross need to stop being during commercials. But Cross ends up running into Sammy backstage and telling him, I saw what you did. You took advantage of LA Knight jumping in there so that you could take that win. Sammy then reiterating, it's a fatal 4-way. No, I'm just doing what I was supposed to be doing. And Cross telling him, I see through you. I know who you are. I'm really hoping and pushing because there's an open spot for next week for the men's King of the Ring tournament. We have one slot that has not been filled. I think it's Bronson Reed. I'm trying to think here. Hold on. Actually, yeah, it's Bronson Reed, Rusev, and Sheamus. And then there's just an extra slot that we could fill in with either possibly Ron Killings, or maybe Karrion Kross. I don't know. But I really, really hope that they do something with Kross. I really, really do. King Kross also has a really good ring to it. I'm just saying. Hashtag give Kross a chance. Hashtag we want King Kross. That's just me, though. Following up right after that, we had a mini segment with Nikki Bella. She came back, and obviously she was announcing the new women's PLE next month, the Evolution. Not new, but the second one, because we haven't had this for years. The last one was years and years ago. And it's funny because a lot of the women that were in that are now like a lot of the big stars that are in here now. But yeah, she starts talking about the history. She starts talking about like her time in the WWE and how she's proud of all the women backstage. She starts naming a couple of them, and she gets interrupted by Liv Morgan, who is in full crash out mode, letting her know that she was upset about the fact that she was not named in Bella's speech, and that Bella needs to go back to being a retired or a reality star, blah, 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 kind of taking shots at each other. And at one point, Nikki kind of starts getting out the ring and then starts going back in the ring and obviously gets hit with an Oblivion right after that. Liv is just in full crash out mode, not happy about it. I think that we're probably going to see Nikki probably come back, and she might actually find someone to team up with to go after the tag titles. Obviously, these are belts that did not exist during Nikki's time. So these are belts that she never held. So we'll see. Following up right after that, we had our main event. It was the World Heavyweight Championship match between Jey Uso and Gunther. On paper, this match was a good match. I'm just gonna announce it and give the flowers where they need to give. The fight was good. Jey came out there with his son. These two were going back and forth. This was a hard-hitting match. Probably one of the best matches that they both have had with each other. And what's crazy is that, I felt like we kind of knew where we were going to go. Jey with his injured ribs. Gunther is absolutely vicious when especially he knows one of his opponents are kind of softened up. And once he knew that those ribs were softened up to a point where he could take advantage, he did, ripping the tape off. But, being a fighting champion, Jey was fighting through it. We saw splashes, we saw spears, we saw multiple sleeper hold attempts. We saw these guys literally laying it all out there. Punches, kicks, everything, you name it. We got it all. But unfortunately, the match did end. Jey Uso passing out to a sleeper. Now, I'm not going to lie. We knew that Jey wasn't going to have a super long reign. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that he was our World Heavyweight Champion. I was really rooting for him. And this is again my personal opinion, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I think that the way they booked him was absolute crap. They made it seem like he couldn't finish a match by himself. Most of his matches ended up with some type of DQ or some type of involvement by somebody else. So he ended up being the default winner. And I feel like that wasn't necessary. It really wasn't. There are people online that were complaining. It's the same thing with the Cody Rhodes situation. You had your people that were like, oh man, we wanted Roman's reign to end eventually. Roman Reigns, get it? Because Roman's reign, I get it. But we wanted Roman to lose the belt to Cody, but then the fact is that people were complaining that Cody was the champion. We can't please everybody. But I'm going to be in the camp of I wanted them to book Jey better. I think Jey deserved better. I think that he should have definitely had some better matches, or at least had some wins where it didn't involve someone getting involved. His match with Logan Paul, that also ended with obviously some interference because Cena got involved. His match with Rollins got interrupted because obviously Rollins and his crew got involved. Not Rollins and his crew, but Rollins' crew got involved. It just was like, you guys kept saying you want to give him a chance, but you didn't really book him in a way that needed to show that he could handle it. Now, was he a fighting champion? Absolutely. Was he passionate? Absolutely. But the storylines you guys were giving him, I felt like weren't giving everybody that idea that he had the credibility to be the World Heavyweight Champion. And that's where I feel like was a big slap in the face for him. I want Jey Uso to be a World Heavyweight Champion again. I want him to win the WWE Championship again. I want them to have another go around with this. Now that Gunther's champion, I'm just also concerned because I'm not going to lie to you, I did not enjoy his reign as World Heavyweight Champion. I felt like, and we discussed this in one of our podcasts, that it felt like he was just very booked, very weak. Yes, he was a strong, dominant force in the ring. I'll give him that. But the character himself, especially after the split with Imperium, just felt like he did not have the same, I want to say swagger that he had when he was champion with Imperium. He kind of came off as spoiled and entitled. And I get most heels do, but it was just not in the way that he was before. When he was the IC champion, that dominant 666 days as champion, with Imperium in his corner, he didn't really have them as involved in the matches. He kind of was there doing his own thing. He kind of said that I don't need you, but you're here if I need you. And he really proved that he could dominate whoever it was. But when he was World Heavyweight Champion before, I felt like his reign was just sloppy and annoying. And I think that's what most people were starting to push toward the idea of Jey Uso winning that title off of him, and they wanted it. But I think also what didn't help was the fact the way they booked them before, because obviously him losing at the Saturday Night Main Event and then eventually winning the Royal Rumble and then being able to choose who he wanted to face, so he chose Gunther, and it just feels like we kind of dropped the ball here for this championship as a whole. And again, this is my personal opinion. Some of you may not agree with me. Some of you might tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. You can agree with me or disagree with me. That's fine. You know what? It is what it is. I'm just telling you my opinion. I feel like these two superstars should have been booked a little bit better as champions as a whole. Now that Gunther is champion again, we'll see what happens. I mean, is the reign going to be long? I don't know. I mean, Seth could come after this belt. I don't know. We might see Sami win the King of the Ring tournament because obviously they have history here, and Sami has a real shot at trying to be world champion, and this could be his shot. Maybe trying to run it back with Gunther and win the title off him. Sami has defeated Gunther for a title before, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that Sami wins this belt off of him as well. I don't know. I really don't know. But it is what it is at this point. Obviously, we are past it. The match happened. It is what it is. Now, a couple small things that came up also on Raw is that we saw that AJ looks like this feud with him and Gable are going to continue. Again, another commercial break situation. Really, really hate that. I really hate it when they do this. But one cool thing that came up is that we will see the return of the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka, next week. She's in a qualifier match for Queen of the Ring. We have not seen Asuka for some time, and I know there's been a lot of speculation of when she was going to show back up. We got a really cool promo video, and she's going to be back next week. So it's really, really cool. I'm really happy to see that. My final thoughts here are that I don't think it was a bad Raw. I think it was a really good Raw. A lot of storylines, a lot of passionate moments, especially with like the Ron killings and everything like that. We saw the return of Bayley. We saw Nikki Bella obviously setting up something with Liv Morgan, and the Cena and CM Punk match that we're going to see at King and Queen of the Ring. I think it was a solid Raw. I'll give it to them. It was a solid Raw. But that's just my opinion on it and my take on it. I want to hear about you guys. What do you think? Who are your predictions for King and Queen of the Ring? I can't say both of those together without just stuttering. But who are your predictions? Who's going to be the king? Who's going to be the queen? Who's going to be Gunther's next opponent? There is rumor that it's going to be Goldberg facing him. I mean, I kind of figured that might be what it is because Goldberg just has these matches at Saudi Arabia, and most of them don't really end very well. But obviously it's his last retirement match supposedly coming up, so maybe that's going to happen there. We'll see. But that's it from me. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the video, check out the socials. Also, if you have any ideas you want to hear from me, some videos, ideas, please hit me up on those socials. Send some ideas in. I would love to get some feedback from you guys as well. But other than that, I am Lobo Berry Crunch, and I will see you in the next one.